Former Auschwitz guard Oskar Gröning, he was just convicted of 300,000 counts of accessory to murder. German judge gave him a 4-year sentence. He's 94 years of age. Now, he admits he worked at the infamous death camp and saw mass murder, but he claims he didn't personally kill anyone. He is called the accountant of Auschwitz because he counted the valuables of the prisoners. As I said, he's 94 and in poor health. So the question is, and this was asked of the jury at the time, does any of that matter when sentencing comes down? How someone lives the intervening years? What is the age and the health of the person when it comes to sentencing? And I can tell you before I even start, I doubt I'm going to get a maybe even a little bit at the table here. Mark, we've seen these cases before. I remember we saw this with the Demania case in Ohio, and he also died before he ever went to prison. I think it was pending an appeal at the rest. How, if at all, does the way someone conducts their life in the intervening years, in the age of the person, matter, if at all?
Well, I think it does matter, and I think context matters a lot. This is not a denaturalization case or a deportation case that's taking place in the United States to strip an ex-Nazi war criminal of fraudulently obtained citizenship. This is a criminal prosecution in Germany, and that makes all the difference in the world, because a prosecution of a Nazi war criminal in Germany is a whole different animal than denaturalization proceeding here. They have not always had an admirable record of dealing with this in Germany. What you said in the run-up to this is a basic principle of international law established at Nuremberg. You don't have to directly kill somebody to participate in an act of persecution. Adolf Eichmann was known as the desktop murderer. That wasn't the law in Germany, and they drew a sharp distinction between somebody who actively kills and somebody who just aids and abets at a concentration camp. They changed the law. Now they're following the Nuremberg Protocol, and there were cases in Germany where high-level Nazis were given criminally unconscionably short sentences, which were then commuted, and then they assumed high positions in the West German government. So it's very, very important that this is taking place in Germany. So in Germany, I don't care what he's done in the intervening years. He's 94. There aren't that many of them left. This is important to their national reconciliation. You got their low-hanging fruit, and you got to get them while they can, so there's a living record of history, and not to get up on the soapbox. It's pretty important to remember in light of the deal that's being pushed through in Washington right now. So this is an apt, timely reminder.
This was not some youthful indiscretion followed by 70 years of a law-abiding life where you can turn around and say that this person has turned their life around and so on and so forth. You know, Bill made a great point before. Why give him life?
Well, he joined voluntarily. He also joined the SS voluntarily. I had a guy, as I said in the run-up, who spent the intervening years in the United States. He was a Nazi propagandist in wartime Hungary, occupied Hungary. He joined up with Radio Free Europe, was a staunch anti-communist. He had a daughter who worked for the FBI. I brought the argument to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals in Philadelphia. They laughed me out, threw him out of the country, and he died before he was deported.
But let's take a step back and look at this in context. I don't care whether he's 94 or 74. The fact is, he was found guilty of assisting in the execution of 300,000 people.
What are we talking about?
And at the end of the day, he gets sentenced to 4 years. Now, it may very well be that some judge said, well, he's 94, 4 years, it means he'll be 98. As far as I'm concerned, 94, 74, if you've executed or participated in the execution of 300,000 people, you have forfeited your right to ever live among free people again. Lock you up, throw away the key, put you in segregated confinement, and keep you there until the day they carry you out by the handles.
There are a lot of people who serve in the United States military, and there are many countries that feel that we have engaged in war crimes, and there are lots of people who could basically face the exact same consequences. I think that it's a big difference whether you are forced to serve in a military. And if you're living in Nazi Germany, it's a little different.
He wasn't forced.
Well, let me finish, please.
He volunteered for the SS.
Let me finish. I'm not saying he did, but I said that it's a big difference whether you voluntarily join or whether you are conscripted. It's a big difference also to say if I'm in Iraq or Afghanistan, maybe me signing up voluntarily is not so voluntary, because if I don't, I know what's going to happen. So what I'm suggesting here is that you have to look at the totality of the circumstances. I think it's very different being an accountant and saying that that person is responsible for the deaths than it is for me to be the person who's killing people as well.
Taking valuables from
stealing
people
money
he
is
knows
stealing
are
money.
going.
But what I'm saying to you is this.
But he's taking valuables from people that are walking into a concentration camp.
We have just recently had our government say that there was no basis for the Gulf War. If somebody's an accountant in the
It's
United
black
States,
and white. You
if
violate the
someone's
laws
an
of
accountant,
war, whether you're conscripted or
well,
not, you'll be
but
prosecuted.
all we have to do is it's got to be black and white both
He
ways.
calls
It
himself-
has to be, and that means that if someone who's an accountant for the United States military is found to have been involved in,
Then he'll be punished
hundreds of
accordingly.
thousands of
If
deaths,
he-
then that person
If he-
technically would be
if he-
responsible
if he-
too.
The fact that he calls himself the accountant of Auschwitz doesn't mean that exonerates him from his culpability and willing and voluntary participation in the execution of 300,000
You
people.
make a judgment call. In this country, we had the OSI, the Office of Special Investigations, that was existing solely really to investigate and try to kick out of the country a grand total of 10 people. If that happens in the United States, maybe to spend millions and millions of dollars on a prosecution, not even a prosecution, a denaturalization proceeding of a 94-year-old man to throw him out of the country before he drops dead, maybe that's not
We
worth
just
it
have
as
to
a
be
judgment
willing-
call. In Germany, you absolutely have to do
We
this.
just have to be willing to live by the same standards that we hold other people
But he
to,
was
and
found-
that's,
we're
that's
talking
my
about
only
the
suggestion.
But you know
That's
what?
it.
The only
talking
part
about
I
the
also
sentence.
with Park Company is we can disagree with wars and anything, but to connote in any way, shape, or
you can't do
form
that.
the Holocaust and any that we have, there is a distinction with a
Well,
difference.
but not to the people who were killed. So
But-
if
but you know
someone,
what?
that someone
But-
could say the same thing about 9/11 too. But I think that to the people who died in 9/11, it's just as important. So I think when
I
you
don't
start
see the
to
analogy. What's the analogy
The
between
analogy
the
is that
execution
I
of
don't-
300,000 Jewish people and 9/11?
And he
What's
was
the
convicted.
analogy?
well, the
We're not-
analogy is that whoever's responsible there is equally responsible as the gentleman, as the person that's
Osama bin
participating
Laden was
here.
responsible and he's dead.
And anybody who assisted
If he
him.
wasn't, then
They
he should
had
go.
war
He should
crimes
go to prison. It ought to be the
prosecution
same
in
type of
Bosnia and
prosecution.
Herzegovina. It's apples and
And I
oranges.
also,
they get help,
just
they
one
get called to account.
postscript to this, when given an opportunity at sentencing to apologize to the victims, he refused to do so.
Well, because he
That's
still
it.
believes. He believes it, lock, stock, and barrel. They don't change.
All right, we jump to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more. Stay with us.
I don't think